I want to welcome everyone today and thank you so much for being here for our program, which is called Teen Stress, It's Real. And I want to thank our sponsors and friends who helped us out with this, including the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. They've been a wonderful partner for us. I know Alana Samuels is here somewhere, probably in the back, and she has been amazing. San Ramon Valley Fire, Chief Paige Myers with us, and you'll be hearing from him. I Can Do That Performing Arts. I know we have Michaela here, who is one of the directors, and they're going to be doing some scenarios for you. I'll outline the program shortly. The San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs, Discovery Counseling Center. I know Sumita is here from Discovery Counseling Center. CPC, I see Stephanie in the back there, and I know we have Amy McGilligan from For the Valley, who is here. We also have with us from Muir Health, Marietta Lowe. Marietta is back there. She has plenty of resources from Muir. And Kendra Belden, who is the Director of Speakers for Teen Esteem. Kendra's in the back there, so thank you to her. And I see probably some of our student panelists are coming in. You'll hear from them a little bit later as well. So I just wanted to continue. So not with us today are our friends at Stanford Health Tri-Valley. They had another event tonight, but they've been also very strong supporters of our initiative. On your seats, when you walked in, I'm a big believer in QR codes these days, and I'm very impressed that we can actually make them look this nice. So we have two different funds. We work in concert with Three Valleys Community Foundation on two funds which impact the San Ramon Valley. The first is the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce Fund for Education and Outreach. That's part of what this program is tonight. So we actually raise money, which helps us do things like afford facilities or afford our videography, which we're very proud, so that we could show these programs after they're finished. And we also have a Youth Mental Health Outreach Grant Fund. This is actually going to be very, very important at the end of the year, because on November 28th, Three Valleys Community Foundation is doing an overall State of Giving. It's going to be at Las Positas in Pleasanton. And they're going to give out overall mental health grants for the entire region, the entire Tri-Valley region, from Alamo all the way down to Livermore. But for the first time, we're going to be giving out youth mental health grants, and that's going to be money that we're going to raise for the Danville Area Chamber. So if you are so inclined, please take those flyers with you. Please consider making a contribution. I know you're all used to QR codes, so you know all you have to do is scan, and you can get right there to help us out. We really appreciate that. So just a little bit, I'm going to do a quick introduction of local officials, but first I'll give you an outline of how tonight's going to go. So we have scenarios from I Can Do That Performing Arts. We're very proud, and I want to introduce, there's two students that worked with them. Gathik is here. Gathik, raise your hand. There you are. And Sonia is here. Sonia? There's Sonia. So they both helped to put together these scenarios that you're going to see tonight, and the actors are going to act out those scenarios. Then we're going to have a student panel that's going to be moderated by our friend Terry Koehne, who many of you know that's been a part of the school district in the past and still continues to do great work in our community. And then an interactive exercise with our Danville Poet Laureate, Elaine Betts. Elaine, raise your hand. There's Elaine Betts. And also our Youth Poet Laureate. So this is a brand new position in the town of Danville that was actually conceived by Sonia Sharma. So we're very proud of her. And Madeline Royfield is here, our Youth Poet Laureate. And you will see on the back of the page that you have, if you turn that over, is an actual poem that they wrote for us for tonight. So I'm really, really proud to have them be a part of our program. So I think I've probably talked enough. I'm going to go back to my slides here. We're going to put these up so that you can all recognize and see all of our sponsors. And I'm going to start out by welcoming Rachel Hurd, who is the president of our school board here, to say a few words.
Welcome, everyone. We're thrilled to have this incredible partnership to make this event possible and to host it at our district office. We're thankful to the Danville Area Chamber and the Three Valleys Community Foundation and all of the agency partners that are sponsors of this great event. More than ever, mental health and the stress that our students are feeling is at the forefront of everyone's minds. SRVUSD prioritizes the mental health and well-being of our students, and we have many supports in place to help teens cope with the stress that they feel at times. This includes counselors at all of our school grade levels, as well as wellness centers at the high schools, and more. According to the American Institute of Stress, youth and young adults who fall into the age range of 15 to 29 have the highest self-perceived stress levels at 64%. Whether it's the demands of school, something at home, stress due to peer relationships, we not only want to provide our students with key supports to reduce their stress now and in the future, but we want to help their parents be aware of what causes the stress for their teens and how to help their students through that. This is one of the key reasons why we partnered to make this event and this presentation available to our parents and caregivers, and we thank you for being here. Next, I would like to introduce County Supervisor for District 2, Candace Andersen.
Good evening, everybody. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. My husband and I raised our 6 children who all graduated from San Ramon Valley schools. And the last one graduated about 7 years ago. But starting back to when my oldest graduated in 2003, while we sometimes talked about mental health and we sometimes talked about anxiety and stress, it oftentimes, even back then, was still a little bit of a taboo topic. And it's so important that we are doing what we're doing now, what we've been doing for the last few years, is talking about it, removing the stigma that so often accompanies someone reaching out for help, that we so often don't recognize that mental health is like any other illness. We need to treat it. We need to address it. We need to provide the services that someone needs to be well. We have such a successful school district in the San Ramon Valley, but with it does come a lot of pressure to succeed, to perform, and to keep up with others and the expectations of our peers, of our parents, of our teachers. And so I'm so glad that tonight we get to experience some of our youth portraying some scenarios that I think will be very familiar to many in the audience. And so I'm grateful that Contra Costa County very much is a partner in this. We have our behavioral health department as part of Contra Costa Health Services. We do have now the A3, the Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime hotline, which is an alternative to police in a mental health crisis. And it's something that we continue to grow and try to provide greater assistance to those in need. And we're very fortunate to partner with San Ramon Valley Fire. And so tonight we've got San Ramon Valley Fire's Chief Paige Meyer, who is I'm introducing you, so you're supposed to come up and talk. And they're doing an amazing program that I'm really glad the county.
She was telling me to put chairs in the back.
No, he's supposed to be talking. He does whatever we tell him. No, but they're doing a fascinating program, a pilot program that the county did help fund in a very small part, which has firefighters being the first responders when there's a mental health crisis in the city of San Ramon. And so I'm really proud that we have this partnership. We have an amazing fire district that does a great job. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chief Paige Meyer. Here you go.
Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome.
Yeah, we will get chairs, and we're going to get these chairs when I'm done speaking. And I will be quick. They'll put me to work back there. But, I had a couple, I was going to say, what are you guys stressed out about? I mean, come on. When you get old like me, you're running into burning buildings. Is that not funny? Anyway, being in the fire service, you don't really acknowledge your stress, right? We don't do that because we go to these calls, and quite frankly, that's our attitude. We kind of like, what could be so stressful after what we see? But what we've seen, and what Supervisor Andersen alluded to, is we've seen an increase in mental health calls with our teens and with our juveniles. I mean, as young as 8. And so now this is something that's happening on a regular basis, and now it's we're up 500% on our call volume in this valley. It's almost 2 calls a day for our fire district, and that's why we came up with, I think, this innovative program where we can get in front of maybe the police interaction as well as the stigma that's out there regarding this as being a mental health crisis is it's a medical emergency as well. So we have to acknowledge that, right? I'm proud we have Preston, if you don't mind raising your hand, Preston Looper, who's actually our behavioral health expert that's a partner with us in the district. So we've taken it seriously. Every one of our firefighters in the San Ramon Valley has training to the specialist level that allows us to go to mental health calls and actually be able to be an effective part of responding, which we're proud of, and I think it's a new way to do business in the fire service. It's something, quite frankly, in the last 25, 30 years of my being in the fire service, we never acknowledged, we never dealt with. We just go wing it, quite frankly. So we're in a different place, and I'd just say we're honored to sponsor with the Chamber this event, and we'll watch, and what we want to try to do is get as much as we can back so we can continue to make our program better and evolve to make sure that we're partnering and really working with the school district to deal with the problems that our kids are having today. So thank you for having me, and I hope you guys get a lot out of today, and I will move chairs now. If you need me, I'll be in the back. Thank you.
I have a couple people who are here who I feel like I almost introduced everybody in the room, but I have a few people that I didn't introduce. You heard from our county supervisor, Candace Andersen, of course. And I mentioned Elaine Betts, who's here, our Danville Poet Laureate. Kelly Bowers may be here. She may be running a little bit late. She is with Three Valleys Community Foundation. And she's largely one of the reasons that we decided to open up this fund, which is a 501c3 tax-deductible fund, both the grant-making and the educational outreach fund. We decided to do that because we really felt a need to do more in our community. And as a business community, I feel we were challenged. What can we do as a business community to help? And so this was the issue that we chose. I think, Marilyn, are you here from, there she is, Marilyn Lucy from Assemblywoman Bauer Cahan's office. She is here with us. Our council member, a great champion for us, who has a healthcare background, Dave Fung is here. There's Dave in the back. Thank you for being here, Dave. I mentioned Michaela Groman, who's going to be getting her team together to come up to do the scenarios. She's from I Can Do That. Terry Koehne may be here. If not, he'll be on his way shortly. Shana Ronan from I Can Do That, who is a huge help on this and is expanding their facility. For those of you that don't know about it, I Can Do That. They're expanding their facility, and she's home with her child tonight, so she wasn't able to be with us. I mentioned our Youth Poet Laureate, Madeline Reutfeld, who is here with us, and she's been a great help. I mentioned Alana Samuels, and I mentioned Sonia Sharma earlier. Also our Vice Mayor, Karen Stepper. Karen is here. Karen, thank you so much for being here, the Vice Mayor of Danville. And I mentioned Gatik before, who was really, really helpful to us. So I think I've gone through the entire world, other than some really important people that this chamber could not run without. So if you're a chamber ambassador, would you stand up, please? So Liz Hansen is our ambassador liaison on our board, and she does a great job. And Donna Piper is a new ambassador, as is Christine, who runs, what was the name of it again? I caught her with food in her mouth. I'm sorry about that. Be Local. Be Local, which is a cool newspaper, actually, that has play in La Miranda area and in the Diablo Valley here. So if you've not seen it, you might really like it. And then in the back, the chair of our ambassadors, Laura George, with Laura George Photography. So we're very pleased to have all of them with us. So now, Michaela, come on up. It's all you.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Michaela Groman. I work at I Can Do That Theater Performing Arts Center. We were approached and invited to come here and do some scenarios for you guys to give you a kind of a real life depiction of what teen stress might look like in the daily lives of a teen. Shayna and I collaborated with Gatik and Sonia, but we also collaborated with these teens to create scenarios that they felt rang true in some ways, whether it connected to them personally or things they have seen in friendships or social situations. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm hoping you guys can kind of interpret these the way you want to interpret them. And we're going to start with a home scenario, so an example of something that might be stressful at home.
Hey, Mom.
Oh, hey, sweetie, how was your history test?
I don't think I did very well.
Well, what happened? I thought you studied with Carrie.
I did. I tried really hard. I don't know what happened.
Well, Carrie's in all the same classes as you, and you both get the same grades. I just don't understand what happened.
I tried my best. I tried as hard as Carrie, but I'm not her. It doesn't come as easily for me, and I feel really overwhelmed.
You are just as capable as Carrie. I know you can do it. You just have to try.
Scene. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's a home scenario. We're going to go to school now. Yeah? Okay, so school scenario.
Alright, class. Based on the checklist I gave you last week, which I assume you all have read, I'm going to be adding a new assignment this week to prepare you for your midterms. I will expect a 500-word essay by tomorrow based on chapters 5 and 6, basically summarizing it. That'll be all. You're dismissed.
Are you kidding me? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I don't need to.
I can't do it. I won't. I already have like 2 zeros I have to make up. I don't have the time.
You'll be fine. I didn't even study and I did great. I literally have an A- in this class. I'm gonna work at McDonald's or go to a community college.
My mom took my phone away after I got a C on the last test, and I just got it back. I really don't want my phone taken away. Ugh.
I can't do it. It's either I sleep and don't do the project, or I don't do the project and sleep. I can't balance all this extracurricular stuff.
Well, maybe you can sleep. Yeah, maybe you can sleep at lunch. Let's go.
Hey, dude, how's it going?
Not great. Or for one, it's all. With an A-, going to community college, working at McDonald's. I have a D. I'm actually failing.
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I wish I could help you. I don't have time. I'm sorry.
Scene. Thank you. Okay. We're going to rearrange some chairs now. Rearrange chairs. That was an example of school. We're going to go to a social setting. And this was the one that these guys mostly collaborated on. Yeah, that works. Okay. And see.
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming over. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I think the guys will be here soon.
You know what I heard? I heard that Peter was going to be here.
Oh, yeah, didn't you break up with him last week or something? Actually, he broke up with me.
Hey, we're here! Hey, welcome to the party!
Are you okay?
I'm actually a little anxious right now because, Peter's here, but I have a super big favor to ask you.
Yeah.
By any chance, can you not talk to Peter at all tonight?
I think I can do that, yeah.
Thank you so much. That means the absolute world to me.
Wait, guys, I have a crazy idea, okay? Alright? Let's play Kiss, Marry, Kill.
Oh my gosh. Alright. I'll go first. Scott.
Okay.
Kiss, Marry, Kill. Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, or Zendaya. Go.
Kiss Ariana Grande, marry Nicki Minaj, and kill Zendaya?
You're not my friend anymore.
So good. Oh, Betty, I have a good one. All right. Kiss, Marry, Kill. Ryan Reynolds, Pedro Pascal, Oscar Isaac.
Hard. Kill Oscar Isaac, kiss Pedro Pascal, and marry Ryan Reynolds.
I can't believe you.
Hey, Peter. Yeah? Kiss, marry, kill? Those three.
No, what the heck?
Yeah. It's a game. Come on.
It's fine. Come on. Really? Yeah, do it.
Come on.
Do it.
Peter.
Peter. Peter.
Okay. Let's see.
Kiss Susie, marry Betty, kill Molly.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Come on, it's just a game. Stop being so sensitive.
the celebrities.
Hey, I'm thirsty. Is there something
Yeah,
to drink?
I got it.
Yeah.
Hey Betty.
Oh.
Did you get
Hi.
the notes from English class yesterday?
Yeah, I
Nice. Do you think I could get your number so you could send them to me maybe?
Sure, yeah.
Betty? Are you kidding me?
Scene. Okay. So those are just short snippets of some things that may not be stressful at first glance, but just collaborating with all these teams, that these were things that do impact their lives on a daily basis. And that is it for us. Thank you very much. Do we want these chairs in the back? Okay, good on chairs.
Well, gosh, weren't they great? Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you, Michaela. I know you played a big role in that, so thank you so much for your help. I'm going to bring up now from our school district, Alana Samuels, who's going to introduce Terry Koehne, who oftentimes doesn't need any introduction, but we're going to roast him a little tonight, I think.
Hi, everyone. Really great to have you here for this session. My name's Alana Israel Samuels. I am the Director of Communications and Community Relations in San Ramon Valley Unified. And, you know, when Judy asked me if I wanted to introduce our moderator, I decided to sit down and write something up so I wouldn't be speaking off the cuff. So please bear with me because there's really a lot to say about Terry Koehne. So I'll try to be fast. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I actually did have a tough time writing an intro for a guy such as Terry, so I decided to get the help of AI by using ChatGPT. Have a little fun with it. So in that way, you can't be upset with me if I say anything he doesn't like, because I did not write it. So tonight, I am honored to have the privilege of introducing the moderator for our student panel, Terry Koehne. Terry is known not only as a communications expert, but he has a remarkable ability to infuse humor into every topic, making even the most complex subjects, like teen stress, feel lighthearted and approachable. Terry's own children graduated from SRVUSD, and in fact, he worked for many years in the role that I now have in the district. He possesses a deep passion for the topics we are exploring today, and his dedication to fostering meaningful dialogues within our student community is truly commendable. As an icon in the San Ramon Valley, he has consistently demonstrated his commitment to promoting open discussion and creating a platform for diverse voices to be heard. Please join me in welcoming Terry up to the podium. He will guide our students through a thought-provoking conversation that promises to be both enlightening and engaging. And thank you, Terry, for taking the helm of this very, very important discussion.
Gosh, when you said ChatGPT, I'm like, wait, doesn't that like search the dark web too? That's probably not a good idea. Just kidding. Good afternoon. How many parents of kids in the district currently? Yeah. How many students? What grade? Don't yawn. Oh my gosh. It's stress. It's catching up to you. It's how it manifests itself, right?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore. Where do you go to school?
Monte Vista.
Okay, right on. Go Mustangs. Okay, are our student panelists here? They are? Okay, I'm going to invite them to come on up and take a seat. Find your name. No yawning.
I'll try.
One more round of applause for the I Can Do That folks. And thank you guys all for being here. Okay, they tell me we have 15 minutes, so we're going to get through this, but we felt that this was pretty darn important. Oh. Judy says, no, you can take 16 and a half. Okay, great. Good. All right. Well, welcome, you guys. Give them a round of applause. All right. Okay, so let's start by having you just go around and introduce yourselves. Give me your name, where you go to school, and what grade you're in, And if you have a funny or embarrassing childhood injury story, you can share that too. But it can't be like something traumatic, okay? Because we can't handle that. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sonia. I'm a sophomore at Monte Vista. I don't really have any like funny injury stories, but I did swallow a bead one time when I was like 3 or 4. My mom had fun with that. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Gothic. I'm a senior at Doherty Valley High. I guess it's a reoccurring story of being injured. Bees are somehow attracted to me, so I've gotten, I think, 6 or 7 bee stings in at least elementary to middle school, so yeah, that's been fun.
Okay, 2 and 2 bees.
No, bead.
Oh, a bead.
Yeah.
I thought you said a bee. Oh, okay, a bead and a bee.
That's a lot worse.
Okay, a bead and a bee. And we're gonna have a bead and a bee. Maybe, did you swallow a beetle? No? Okay, go ahead.
I actually have a funny story. Hi, I'm Arun. I'm a sophomore at San Ramon Valley High. And I also used to rescue bees from my pool. And I got stung. So.
Wow. Okay.
I'm Kate, and I'm a sophomore at California High School, and I don't have any stories related to bees. I fell down a tree once because I was climbing it after watching Tarzan.
Okay. So we have bee, bead, and tree. Okay, good. Uh-huh.
Hi, I'm Liana. I'm a senior. I go to Doherty Valley. So I went to Ecuador this summer for like a volunteering, like a trip, and I got this thing called hand-foot-mouth disease, and it's a thing that like babies get, and I happened to be the only one out of like 20 kids that got it. So it's not really an injury, but it's very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. As a parent in this district, my kids have now both graduated, but right, as parents we live it too. Right, when our kids experience these kinds of stresses and anxieties and stuff that normal teenagers go through, which, by the way, is not unique to this community, it impacts all of us, right, for sure. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and kind of where some of that might come from and maybe how we as adults might be able to help, right? Okay, you guys ready? All right, okay. I'm sorry I was a little late. My wife got an offender bender on the way home from work today. So yeah, that was a little stressful. I know, so I'm just trying to, oh my gosh, it was crazy. Yeah, she's fine though. She's fine, yes, she's up. It was in the car, inside the car wash. Anyway, she's gonna kill me for telling you that. That's great, Carrie, way to go. Okay, all right, our first question has to do with overcommitment. We hear a lot about young people being overcommitted today, right? What does that mean to you? And how does it show up in your life? Or not, right? And you don't all have to answer every question, and you can just kind of, but I want to make sure you all have an opportunity. So whoever wants to start can go ahead. Overcommitment.
I can go.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially, like what we were talking about earlier, in a very high-performing district, there's a lot of pressure on kids to like do everything, get it all done, do it all well. So they feel the need to like do all these extracurriculars, take all these AP classes, and prioritize performance over their own well-being, which obviously is not good. And I think that's a big source of anxiety, especially like I'd say in terms of like academics and extracurriculars. College is a big thing, but yeah, performance, prioritizing performance over health.
And what? Tell us what grade again? You're a sophomore?
Yeah.
Sophomore. Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I guess another form of overcommitted, like she said, also overextending yourself. But sometimes that can be through social relationships as well. I see that like so many people, at least teens, try to fit different identities, even though they're not exactly that type of person, just so that they can fit in with the most amount of people. So that type of overextension, overcommitment, along with overcommitment to, like she was saying, academics and extracurriculars, it's a recipe for disaster, really, for high school lives.
I've personally seen a lot of my friends, especially this year, sophomore and junior, because they're notoriously really tough years. I've seen a lot of them take way too many hard classes, and then they end up dropping all of them. and it can't feel good for them, and I just don't think it's a good thing to feel.
Show of hands, does that resonate? How many of you does that resonate with? Just taking hard classes and kind of the stress that goes along with AP honors classes, for example? Okay, go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, and like I think overcommitting, it could like make us like have high standards, and then we set like a standard that's too high. So then when we don't reach like the standard that was like actually pretty impossible to reach, we could like feel like maybe like we couldn't accomplish something, or like maybe like even like a failure.
Yep.
For me, I think it's kind of like what different people value. So I think just going off my experience, like I go to Doherty, it's known to be pretty competitive academically, and if someone kind of valued maybe like sports and like leadership and like other stuff, and someone valued like the APs and the more academic rigor, I think that's where it's like one or the other will always be like, am I doing enough? I don't have enough. I don't have the higher like GPA, or like I don't have enough extracurriculars to like get ahead in my school, or to stand out to college, or to, I don't know, impress like my parents or my friends.
So as a follow-up to that, how many of you feel that it's more sort of the overall academic pressure as opposed to the competition, like you said, right? The competition with your peers, with people that you see who are sitting next to you in AP biology, right? That kind of thing. Is it more the academic pressure that's kind of just given to you, or is it more the feeling of having to compete with your other classmates?
Well, I feel that the feeling to compete can cause some academic stress, because if you see so many other people, peers, taking AP classes, honors classes, you end up enrolling in those similar AP classes as well, which then results in higher academic stress. And then you also have the peer stress as well, so it kind of compounds like that.
Anyone else?
I also feel the competitive stress because I take more leadership roles in my school and I'm more involved in my school. So I have less time for as part of classes, so I just sometimes feel like I'm not like good enough.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, you ready to move on? Okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't here to see the performances, but I do have an idea of kind of what was presented. So were there any scenes or parts of the scenario that resonated with you, and if so, why?
I think that the second one about academic stress, I could relate to that, and I think a lot of students could as well. Just the feeling that because you're not like doing as well as like your best friends in that class, you're somehow less than. Even if you're like if you know you're taking challenging classes, if you're struggling and it looks like no one else is, that feeling can be really isolating, and it can be really stressful. And that is like, is there something wrong with me? Like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not as good as them?
Right. I also felt really connected with the second one, but it's also to show that there's so many different like types of people in a classroom. While there might be some overachievers who, you know, like if they get a B or an A-, they'll work at McDonald's or something. But then there's also there's other people who are like really struggling and they feel really impacted by this. So, and I feel that really comes to show that when it comes to mental health and mental wellness, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of solution. You have to cater to every student. It's not just like the overachievers or the people who are struggling. It's everyone.
I watched the performance, and there was like something that one of the kids said to try to console the other one that was struggling, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, I don't have time to help you." And that, like, I think that's pretty common with, I think, you know, we're all teenagers, we don't really have that like emotional capacity to always console the right way, but that is something that I've noticed, at least in my school, where they kind of choose maybe their own needs and priorities over just the emotions of someone else, and that can be even more stressful and like frustrating than the actual like feeling overwhelmed over a paper itself.
Anyone else want to add to that? Go ahead, Evan.
I resonated with the social pressures scene, because when she asked her friend to not talk to her ex, that puts a lot of stress on that friend, and that also just like puts stress on her, and then she doesn't know what like the right decision is, and then her friends just ends up getting hurt anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Just social anxiety, right? I mean, how much or how little does the need to fit in, the need to belong, particularly to a social group, how much does that contribute to teen stress? And I think also, how do you see, maybe not just in yourself, but it could be, members of your friend group or whatever, how do you see that manifested? How do you see people kind of exhibit that stress? How does it normally come out?
To me personally, I feel like social anxiety is like a big thing because like nobody really wants to be alone. But then to fit in, it feels like there has to be standards that needs to be met in order to fit in to a group. And I feel like to fit, like because of that, it's hard to express like who you actually are, and then that could kind of lead to a lot of stress. And sometimes I could see people like leaving other people out or like making mean comments about like another person, so that they could just kind of feel more included.
I think that what I've seen, in terms of social anxiety, is that a lot of kids sacrifice meaningful high school relationships in order to be cool or like to be who they think people want them to be. It all becomes very performative as opposed to having like actual connections with people you relate to, people you trust. And I honestly think that that's really sad, because the friendships that you make like during your teenage years, like those are the people who are with you through some of the most like up and down times of your life. And when it all becomes a big performance and a source of stress, then it's just, yeah.
Have you guys all, how long have you lived in the community? I'm just curious.
I've been here since second grade.
Second grade?
Same.
Yeah.
All right. B.
I've been here since first grade.
Okay.
I've been here since 8th grade.
Okay.
9 years, so I think like third grade.
Okay. Okay. And have you found that kind of your social group has sort of followed along with you since you moved here, or since you started school, or no?
I'm actually lucky to say that most of the friends I've had since elementary school are the same friends that I've had now. I know that's not the case for many other people, but I've also joined like other friend groups as well. But I've stayed with the same core group of friends. So.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me it was like the exact opposite. I'm going to be completely honest. My elementary school group of friends was not my middle school group of friends, which was not my current high school group of friends, and I'm pretty sure it's going to change again. But I think that can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. It shouldn't be where you're like pushing people away because you think that like they're not cool enough, or like this is what's going to get people to like you. It should be hanging out with the people who help you grow the most and give you the safest space. So change is difficult, but in social situations it can either be good or bad. I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of social anxiety leads to the first route I brought up, but yeah, my friend group has not stayed the same.
Interesting. So other than school, what kinds of things are you involved in?
I play basketball at Doherty. I play lacrosse. I'm in leadership. We have a class called academic leadership. I'm involved in like, I don't know, I mean, a lot of stuff around school with like clubs, and I like to try to just be more involved like community-wise, which is why I put more emphasis on like sports and leadership, because I feel like that's where I can kind of like make the most impact, and also I think it's more valuable to me than like maybe taking some of the APs.
And do you feel that those things contribute to your stress level? Do they help? I mean, playing sports, for example, does it give you an outlet that kind of lets you alleviate stress?
I think both, because I mean, sports, you know, there's like highs and lows to everything. It's same with like in the classroom, there's like highs and lows. I think there's like pros and cons to if you kind of go more of like the sports route and more involved route, or like more of like the APs and the academic rigor and like stuff like that. But I'd say I think it's the same amount of stress, because just like comparing it with my friends who kind of took the more academic side, like we have different kinds of stress, but it's pretty much all the same feeling.
Good. Anyone else?
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, so I've been involved with like volunteering since elementary school, like either this school thing, the school student leader board, and then middle school, the ambassadors for teen program for City of San Ramon. And then in high school, I was a student senate member for Contra Costa, the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. And in terms of like stress, I feel that one important distinction is there can be good stress and bad stress. Good stress for me is when you're waiting in anticipation for something that you really want to do. So if I was, like when I was preparing for meetings for Student Senate, for example, and I was presenting something, I would have stress, but it was more of that feeling of, you know, I really want to do this thing, versus if the bad stress would be, you know, I feel pushed to do this thing, but I don't really want to do it, and I'm super nervous about it, and I don't want to do it. That's the bad stress, and I feel that that important distinction is key to make, because sometimes stress can be good.
That's a good. Anybody want to kind of piggyback on that? Arun, I knew you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
For me, I was on the junior varsity volleyball team last year, and as it was second semester, I felt definitely a lot more stressed because I was balancing all my academics and then also volleyball, which was after school, and then a game every other day. So for me, it was just more. And then this is my second year in leadership, and this is upperclassmen leadership now, and it's a lot more stressful because you're doing a lot more events and you're planning a lot more, because SRV is like very spirited.
Right. And is it fun for you?
It's fun, but it's
good.
also really stressful.
Okay, good. We want to make sure it's fun. Anyone else?
Did you want to go? You can go ahead.
For me personally, I moved a lot when I was like young, and I still kind of moved around a lot. But I never really focused on like a sport or like an extracurriculum. And like all my friends, they kind of do a lot of the stuff. So like a lot of the times I would get stressed about those kind of things because I feel like I'm not doing enough. And a lot of the times my parents would like kind of ask me like why I'm not like volunteering or like playing a sport. So I think that's a big stress.
Do you think that there are enough things for you enough opportunities for you to participate if you wanted to and could?
I think there are some.
Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to add on to that idea of like good stress and bad stress. I think that competition to an extent is good because it motivates you to, do better. It gives you incentive. It gives you something to look forward to, which is kind of what you were talking about. But then I think a big issue is when competition gets to an unhealthy level, which in a high-performing district is what I think is a very big issue as well. Because that's when you start like basing your self-worth on these things. Like, I don't know, if you get a B in a class, all of a sudden you feel like you're not worth as much or you're not as good. So I think competition is good, but like everything, it needs to be in moderation.
Good. All right, let's talk about technology a little bit. Social media, your thoughts?
I think social media, like it could be good in some ways. You could like communicate or like it could inspire you in some ways, but like people usually like just post like the good things in their lives in social media. You never see the bad things. And I think like people, since like we tend to scroll on social media a lot, you only see the good things, and like even though we logically know that it's like it might not be their perfect life, but it's like very easy to forget about that and like compare ourselves to like what their lives look like.
Are there particular platforms that you think healthier than others? Instagram versus Snapchat? I mean, are they both just like, you know, it depends on the user and...
I'd say I didn't have social media until like last year when I had to get it like to manage the athletics account for Doherty Valley through leadership. And there's a reason for that. Well, A, it's because like my parents said it wasn't really good for me, and B, it's because I noticed the effects of like my grades were slipping a little, because especially during online school my freshman year, when the teacher was talking and I was bored, I just immediately scroll on Instagram, and that is very not great for your learning. And I am not a huge fan of social media. Instagram is the only one I've had and the only one I hopefully will ever have. But I'd say if there was something worse or something better, I think the worst is kind of like the ones where your attention span is very limited, so like TikTok and Instagram. Better, I mean, I don't think they're, probably Snapchat. It's probably like the lesser of the two.
Anyone else?
I was also off of social media for a while. I got Instagram like, I think, a year and a half ago. Also because my parents didn't really want me on that, and I see why. But I've always felt that when you're not on social media, there's this feeling that you're missing out on potential friendships and potential popularity, but that doesn't really exist. But I feel like a lot of kids feel maybe isolated from the rest of the kids at school because they don't have, like, say, Instagram.
I feel that social media can also be used as like a divisive tool. I don't want to sound too pessimistic here, but sometimes, you know, I don't have like personal experience with this, but I've had a lot of friends who've shared this story with me on how if they're in a friend group and suddenly they feel a little bit out of it, now that friend group has created a new group on Instagram or another social networking site, and now they feel excluded. And I feel that's really bad because when it's so easy to exclude someone from real friendships and, you know, real interaction, well, may not be real, but at least it's interaction, then it's really negative for, you know, mental health and especially for how they view themselves as a person, because they feel that now I'm less worth it, and or maybe I can't have friends, right? So sometimes social media can be that type of, you know, device.
I think that as like there are definitely harms to social media, but it can also be used for good. Like for networking or like, you know, promoting clubs and stuff like that, it can be really good. But I think that the biggest issue is that a lot of teens, and I'd actually say not just teens, don't really use it responsibly, in that they use it more as a tool to like exclude people or you know, pretend that their life is perfect, kind of like what you were talking about, which has the negative impact that everyone else was just talking about, where it can really hurt people's self-esteem or make them feel like they're missing out on a life that, you know, really doesn't exist. It's all just photoshopped and filters.
And do you find that like turning it off helps? And along those lines, what other strategies do you use to kind of combat your own stress when you might feel it coming on? Do you just kind of shut down? Do you shut down your device? Do you say, I'm not going to log on to whatever? Or do you meditate? What do you do to combat stress?
One common thing I've seen with people is not even just close their device, they just delete the app entirely. And then they re-download it whenever they feel like, you know, very motivated and they feel like they've gotten the work done. But yeah, I feel that, but for me, one major strategy that I've done is sometimes I like going out on walks or runs even in the night, and I feel that that's really, it really helps with stress because it gets you in that right mindset, kind of attuned with nature, you know. But yeah, taking that break from social media really helps you readjust.
For me, I think it's more like human interaction. I usually delete the app, and either I would just kind of talk my stress out with like my little sister who's a little too young to understand any of it, or like just maybe a friend. I noticed that going on walks can help, but for me personally, like talking it through with teachers especially, just about small to big stuff has helped me a lot.
Do you know where you're going to school next year?
Oh, no.
No, not yet?
No.
Sorry to add to your stress.
Still in that process.
Yeah, awesome. Right on. Anyone else want to contribute to that one? It's okay. Well, I'm curious, what age were you, if you remember, when you were first allowed to have a cell phone and/or you were first allowed to engage in social media? Because that is a big decision for parents, right? I mean, we hear that when we're just walking around the playgrounds talking to other parents. Well, what do you think? Should I give it to my kid at 12 because I'm worried about them being safe? I want them to be able to contact me. Blah blah blah. What age were you when you first got a phone and when you had access to social media?
I got my phone when I went into middle school because my parents were like worried about like contact and stuff. And I feel like it's not really good to give a phone to your kid when they're like too young, but like at the same time, I feel like it might also be kind of negative to not give them a phone at all, especially when they're like going into middle school, because like all kids, they will usually make group chats and stuff, and it's like also a way to communicate. But you could, when you don't have a phone, like you don't really have a way to do that, so you could kind of feel left out.
Okay. Okay.
I got my phone, I think, right before I went to middle school,
Mhm.
about 5th grade, and it was an iPhone SE, and it was just for like communication. I feel like I didn't feel as left out going into middle school though, because there were some kids that didn't have phones and they were kind of excluded with all those group chats and everything.
I had like an iPod, an iPod Touch, right?
Mhm.
In like 4th grade. And then I remember in 5th grade, like going into middle school, my parents called me and they were like, "We're getting your sister the iPhone 8 Plus. It's a buy one, get one free deal. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yes, I want it." So that's how I got my phone, and I broke it. So now we have this thing over here. Social media, grand total of 3 months ago when I got my first Instagram account. Thank you to my mother for that, by the way. I see why you didn't want me on there. So I'm pretty old for social media, I'd say. Like, not old, but like, in terms of when people were getting it, because all my friends already had it.
Mhm.
And I didn't necessarily feel left out. It was just sometimes, like, I think Snapchat was a big thing. Like, they would always, like, they had these little Snapchat groups where they would always, like, be snapping each other during school. And I'd be, like, that one random hand in the side of the photo who, like, tried to get in and didn't. But it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I kind of realized that it doesn't matter as much now. But I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Nice. Anyone else?
I was like 12, and I asked my dad if I could get a phone. He said no, I have to buy it myself. So that night I went to eBay and I found like a refurbished iPhone 4S and I bought it for $60 with my birthday money. And that was kind of like my first phone. And I think later on my parents were like, yeah, you can get social media, but my social media for me has been very on and off. Like, I deleted it for like 2 years and I got it back for like 5 months and I deleted it again for another 2.5 years. So
Your choice?
my choice.
Your choice? Mhm.
My choice, yeah.
Mhm.
So I'd say social media has been a journey, but yeah.
Nice.
Not all bad.
Judy, how are we doing on time?
You've got 10 more minutes if you want.
Wow. Okay, so, and we'll kind of wrap this up, but bunch of adults in the room, probably, any teachers in the room? Teachers in there? Awesome. Thank you for what you do. Give them a round of applause and who you are. So, what would you like to say to the adults in the room, particularly the parents, about you're seasoned high schoolers now. You've lived a little bit. You kind of know your way around. Any advice for people who might have, say, 3rd, 4th graders?
I feel
Or in general.
I I feel that, I mean, at least at a high school level, students really connect with the teacher instead of the class. So, like if I get into AP Bio, for example, and I have this one teacher and someone else has this teacher, so my friend will say, oh, you have such a good teacher, it'll be so easy, or you have such a fun teacher, you'll have a fun time learning in the class. So I feel that the teacher is the most important thing in the class, not the subject itself. You know, with the activities that you do, how engaging it is, the connections you make student to student. I feel that that's the most important thing in the class. Maybe content, you know, like, content can be a little bit put off, but the connections that you build in that class is really important. And I feel that my best times in class in middle school and high school is with the best teachers who have been the most engaged and had the most games, watched the most movies, I guess. But yeah. So there you go, interact.
To me, I think it's like for like middle schoolers or maybe high schoolers, is to just kind of listen to them, because I know that like they might have like mood swings or whatever, but like it doesn't mean that they're not feeling those feelings. I think just listening to them, like maybe without bias and just understanding or like comforting them could be really helpful.
I think that for parents, it's really important to just like, I think one of the biggest things is just being there for your kid. Because a lot of times they're not even going to know what they're feeling. Like, it's a time of change. It's going to be like, all right, what's wrong? I don't know. Something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. And you kind of just have to, you know, be there for them and like let them talk to you. And I think another big thing is just not minimizing their issues, being like, well, you're in high school, so it doesn't matter. When you're a teenager, high school is your whole world. So when something goes wrong there, it can really feel like the sky is falling. And when, you know, the person you look up to the most, who has raised you, tells you that your issues really aren't real, that can be, you know, that can make you feel like not good. Yeah, that would be my main advice to parents with these.
Nice.
I also feel like sometimes, like when I'm like sad or like anxious or whatever, I feel like there's days where like you said like I don't really know why, but like all I really want is like maybe like a hug from my parents or like just like them being there. I think that's really important.
I'd say don't do things because you feel like you have to, do it because you want to. Things will be a lot more enjoyable if you do things you actually want to, and there's value in a lot of other things other than, like, I know that like SRV values like sports, very big sports, and like Doherty is very academic, and there's value to both. You don't have to like only do one. You can always like dip your toe into both and see how you like it. But like for parents, don't force kids to do things because you feel like it's what they should be doing.
And I think just to add on to that, like making sure that your kids know that they should try to do well, right? They should put effort in, but at the same time, like constantly achieving, that does not define your self-worth. That is not everything, right? Because I think that kind of like what we were talking about earlier when it comes to academics, kids put a lot of pressure on themselves and it can really affect their self-worth when that should not be the biggest thing. So I think really just reinforcing the idea that like, yeah, try your best, but if you don't do well, that doesn't change like how much you are worth as a person.
Wow, you guys are amazing. Any closing thoughts, comments, stories, jokes?
I think just like overall, you should always be there for your child, regardless of what happened. Because recently I've also been going through my hardships or struggles in my friendships and relationships. And just having someone there to talk it out or to, I don't know, like have a late night Taco Bell run, that's always just like helps me out.
Nice. Taco Supreme, what's your favorite?
I don't really know.
What are your thoughts on chalupas?
I don't mind them.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Wait. Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, alright. Never mind.
Well, let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you, guys. I just I mean, just looking at you and hearing you and how articulate you all are and how much feeling you have, just, I don't know, gives me hope, and not just in the future, but in the present. And so thank you for what you do and your contribution, right? Because you're not the leaders of tomorrow, you're the young leaders of today. So thank you for being who you are, and thanks for taking the time. Okay.
All right. We're going to move into, and I see Kelly Bowers back there from Three Valleys Community Foundation. She is our partner for this event. Let's give her a round of applause. She's amazing. And she used to be a school superintendent in Livermore. So she understands this very, very well. We're going to move to our Poets Laureate. I call them our Poets Laureate because we have our Poet Laureate, Elaine Betts, who's been Poet Laureate for 8 years?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, 8 years. And Madeline, who's under a year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so come on up. They're going to do an interactive exercise with all of you. And so on this table at the end, there are some notebooks and pens, so please grab one if you would like. And again, for those of you who haven't had a chance to enjoy some Jersey Mike's, please do. It's all for you.
My name is Madeline. I'm a sophomore at San Ramon Valley High School. I'm currently Danville's Youth Poet Laureate, and I'm also the Youth Commissioner on the Arts Advisory Board.
So we wrote this poem, and we're going to share it together, that we wrote together. Teen stress, we know it's real. There's conflict all the time. And mainly, for the most part, we get along just fine.
Our busy lives and schedules make it difficult to breathe. Headbutting seems so common.
It really makes us seethe. We want the very best for you, to protect you from what's bad. And when we fight and argue, the stress is very sad. Social media can suck us in. Isolation is their key. Together, we can work through this.
Let's listen constantly. I don't want my friends to laugh at me or make myself a fool, 'cause that would cost me dearly. It breaks a social rule. Anxiety takes its toll, and I hide how much I care when people use their words as weapons to hurt and to scare. How I am perceived, you know, it's not the only part. Looking on the outside, you can't see my soulful heart. There's many more commitments, the ones that you don't see. It causes so much pressure, separating you and me. My heart broke even more when I didn't make the team.
Every little blunder, I'm further from my dream.
It's scary what the future holds and what lies in store.
All you seem to want from me is just a little more.
Nothing's ever good enough. I try as best I can. Sometimes I feel boxed in too much. It's not my future plan.
Because we love you dearly, want to share what we have learned. We worry for you constantly. We really are concerned.
Nothing's ever good enough. No, I know how you think you mean well. I wish that you would try to listen truly, as instead it feels like pry.
There is a sense of hopelessness that's drifting us apart. We don't have all the answers. It really breaks our heart. We really do believe in you, more than you will ever know. We've seen your capabilities. From year to year you grow.
Communication and trust is how we'll make it through. Teen stress is really real, and it starts with me and you.
So this is a safe space, and it's an opportunity for us to try and connect with what is the frustration or what we're feeling inside. And so if you've got your little notebook, we want you to kind of draw from the question that we have. It's on your agenda there, but the question is 3 things that you see as a parent that your teen is stressed out about. Okay? You wanted to add some.
Yeah. So from the student perspective, there's a lot going on, but there's also the things that often go unaddressed or unspoken. There's simply the stress of a daily schedule. Sometimes getting out of bed, getting ready at 7 a.m. It's not something that people automatically defer to, and it can be really hard when that is added with the stress of college, school, extracurriculars. And we have, on top of that, the emotional stress of loneliness, confidence, social media, peer pressure.
And I think what happens is all of these things compound, because then as a parent, we have financial stress. We have a series of things around our career, things that we have to, meetings that we have to go to. On top of that, there is aging parents. I've literally just come back, I flew back from England last night. We're dealing with aging parents in another country, and I think that's happening a lot. The distance doesn't matter, it's dealing with that stress. And so layer after layer of different stress from both sides, it's the time to sit and just listen. So this is a time for you to just sit and be with the frustration that you're feeling and what you see as a parent that maybe you didn't see yesterday, or maybe after the conversations that have occurred today, may just have had an aha or an, oh, I need to have this conversation. But whatever it is you want to write that in, draw that in. You don't have to be an artist. And then we'll give you 3 minutes to come up with something that's for you. And this is only for you. You don't have to share it with anyone else, but we will be asking for any ahas shortly. All right, fire away. So what, with that time to think, has come about? Does anyone actually want to share what they have drawn or what they have learnt from the different sides of the spectrum from this? That they feel, if we're all going through the same thing, there's going to be things that we're validating one another. We've heard some from very brave students what they thought, and then how does that make us feel? Go ahead.
So when the young lady was talking about how was your grades and maybe the whole scenario between the mother and the daughter, I think that people need to stop with that and start saying, like, how was lunch today? Maybe lead with lunch would be the best way to start a conversation with your high schooler.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, how was that task? How did you do, comparing them to everybody else and putting that added pressure. And you could just see her body language was just like,
yeah.
I find that accepting when the child said, I tried my best.
Yes.
Instead of the parent saying, well, you could do better, or what happened, or why you studied, you were prepared. Acknowledging as long as you tried your best. Like, the grade doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you tried your best, that's
best.
it. And you leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else have any more comments around it? I have to share something that my kids went through. I think it's important that we understand our own kids and we know what's real for them. And my daughter was one of those students that, you know, everything was organised, everything. She's actually a teacher now, so she's very much that way. But there was a time when, you know, teachers are human, and something occurred where I knew my daughter was right, but the teacher had lost her paper, and so she said she hadn't got it. But in that space, I knew that she was so organised. If it was my son, it would be a whole different kettle of fish. But my daughter's. So in that space, she was then concerned about one of her friends who knew that their parents were going to give her a hard time in that same space. And there was like half a dozen papers that had got lost. And so I actually called the other parent to say, hey, it may not be your daughter's fault. It may be something else that's gone on, so please listen to what they have to say. So sometimes we have to be that bridge for other parents as well. So just a...
Yeah. And then just to add to that, you know, school, especially I go to SRV, it is really a communal environment. In middle school, your extracurriculars are kind of separate from your school environment, and if it's arts or sports or whatever. But at SRV or in high school, everything comes together. You have sports, arts, clubs, school. It's all in one place. And so everything kind of culminates together. There's so much going on in one environment. There's 2,000 kids all going through different experiences, all doing different extracurriculars. And when they come home, you know, sometimes they're exhausted, and it's hard for them to know that they need to initiate a conversation to acknowledge the stress that they're going through at school. Because oftentimes, as student panelists pointed out, they don't realize it themselves. So just having a parent come to them and say, I acknowledge your stress, I want to hear what you're going through, can really make a big difference in a student's life.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's also, it's not just the external factors, I think it's internal as well.
Yeah.
Because this is such a high-performing school district, kids put so much pressure on them. I think a lot of pressure is coming from within themselves. So to tell them that, you don't have to think like that all the time. This is not an indication of your self-worth, right? I think that internal pressure, I think that's the worst.
Yeah.
So that's I think that was my...
Yeah, it's the self-imposed expectations
exactly
that we come across. And what is interesting is we've had quite a lot of discussions around this, which has been quite enlightening. And I, as a business coach, see a lot of parents and business owners going through all sorts of pressure about their business that they don't take home. They don't have somebody who understands that they can then talk to someone about it. And so a lot of the conversations I have with adults can sometimes be very much about what's going on in their home life that is causing them stress, and they're not able to deal with their business because of the stress, and vice versa. The stress of business is creating a stress for them at home. So I think if we can have a chance to just listen to one another a little bit more, I think that would be so helpful. We're learning, we're teaching each other.
I just want to add one thing.
Yes.
That parents also need to recognize the stress that they have, like you mentioned. But, and at the same time, they really need to understand that unrealistic expectation from yourself or your own child does not translate to them, because that will add more stress to kids.
Yeah.
And it's super important that that comparison that that mom had, it's so valid nowadays, because opportunity is wide out there. Like she mentioned right now, every high schooler wants to do so many leadership courses, sports, and then APs. So it's parents really need to step back and decide what's good for your child. It's not that everything needs to be done by that kid, but planning needs to be there. Have that conversation with your child. What you really want to do. So I think it's important.
I would just add to that, not comparing your children.
Yes,
and your
to
own
each
family,
other.
because you're not their friends and their peers, their classmates, the siblings. Every kid is so different, and what's for one kid is not the same for your other kid.
I think that's also the same for ourselves. The different things that we necessarily feel that we are not good enough at, maybe we're trying to mirror that through our kids and help them in that, or encourage them in that area because we were felt let down in some area. And it's very difficult sometimes to take that away from what you've experienced yourself, and you don't want your kids to regret later on.
Yeah, and to add from a student perspective, I think regardless of age, and this is speaking from my personal experience with parents, we're all students and parents, they live very different lives. Students go to school, they have their own social circle, they have their own interactions through social media. Parents are going to work, they're having their own conversations with coworkers. But at the end of the day, no matter our circumstances, those feelings of stress and being overwhelmed, they're all applicable to everyone, no matter if they're your parents or a teacher or any adult that exists. So just starting that conversation and taking the first step to find common ground is really important when trying to acknowledge teen stress.
Yes.
So I used to be the superintendent for the Livermore School District, and my kids are all grown now, but we've gone through a lot of this. But I know one of the things I really learned when we listened to the kids was, the young people, was that this culture of comparison, a feeling you don't measure up, and it's completely exacerbated by social media. Because everybody puts their highlight reel. And if you burn the toast, you don't put you don't put that on, on social media. It's like, oh, this perfect family. And when a young person goes through, we learned this through the kids. When they go through a hardship, we had a Division I athlete that also had an injury and felt like her life was over. Everything was riding on that. The scholarship, the praise, the expectation, and then cycles through, and then the boys running just thing after thing. And suddenly looking onto social media, it looked as if everybody had what she is now lacking.
Yeah.
And she really, you know, became very down. And this is a kid that had so much going for her. And
Yeah.
couldn't get past
Just-
it. And so we always tell people, what you see on social media is a highlight reel. It's not even real. It's people putting, we're all guilty of it, because we put that out there. But that cultural comparison, because when many of us were growing up, we only knew our immediate surroundings. Now they're acutely conscious of all these other things.
Of all the other things too. And someone else had a comment there. Yes.
Hi, listen to all this conversation, which I appreciate, for sharing all that. I have 3 boys. My 3 boys are in college now. One's 21 and my twins are 19. When we were all in high school, we would come home and I was sad. I thought I was having a conversation. But we all know as parents, the answer, one word answer, yeah, or just a sound. So we'll always ask them, let's have a conversation. So one of my kids said, well, you're not having a conversation, this is an interrogation session. Right? Which we tend to do that a lot as parents. But I still do, don't get me wrong. But you know, it's a change that we have to, you know, like make as parents, right? Like have a conversation instead of interrogating always. How was this? How is that? How is this? How is it? It's a lot of it. I totally get. I mean, working with adolescents is you know, it's a learning process. Every day we learn something. So
It's interesting.
for both parents and kids.
Yeah. When we sit down and talk to them, it's about creating awareness on what we're trying to do. It's a different perspective that we're seeing. And so if we listen to one another and talk it through, it's amazing how many different things come about. Well, my kids said it was your way or the highway, well, my way or the highway. But I did a lot of different, like this kind of thing. You have to learn. We don't know. And this creates an awareness. And hopefully from your little notebooks, whatever you've written down, you know, I drew pictures. We drew pictures together and we'd stick it on the fridge. And it became this is my frustration moment. Or we'd have those things going on. So you draw all the pictures together and then you put it somewhere to keep it alive, because once you go away from this, well then what? Because we get back into our busy lives and our busy schedules again, and we've got to forget some of this if we don't have something. So these little booklets, whatever you want to do, take it home and talk about it. You were going to sort of say something, and then we've got 1 minute to share a poem that we've put together through this. Are we allowed a couple more questions? And yes.
Well, yeah, I'm not a parent, but I'm around a lot of students, and I hear from a lot of parents. So one of the things that I've heard that is really helpful for connecting with your child, because those times sound really, really hard when they give you one-word answers. Yeah. I'm in the classroom a lot too, so sometimes we get that too. Right, so I totally get that. Is really trying to understand their world, like their music maybe, or like their video games, and knowing who the characters are, like what they enjoy reading, or whatever they're interested in, like sports, just kind of getting to know that world. And I've just heard from parents and from students that kind of helped to bridge the communication. And then when you have those questions that are a little harder and can come off as like interrogating, they feel a little bit more open to talking to you, because they know you're invested in more than just that.
I think it's a great point as well, because then if you sit with them and say, so tell me what this game is all about, it's amazing what you learn and what they're learning from some of those games. Some of them know, but some of them, yeah, there's quite a lot of learning involved in those games.
I just want to add on to that. Like, obviously, I'm not a parent. This is my mom. She's a parent. So I just wanted to say, I think that's extremely true. Like, speaking from like the student perspective, because like I'm in choir and my mom knows nothing about music, but like when she like takes the time to like come to my concerts, or like asks like me to tell her about like my auditions, or like what songs I'm doing, or like who my choir friends are, it really helps, because it makes me feel like this activity that I'm doing like matters to her and that she wants to understand, which, yeah.
And I tell her I want to sing, though she doesn't want to listen to me.
No, I said I teach you, but then you don't listen.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm a parent. I'm also around a lot of students occupationally. I think a big factor in teen stress is not getting adequate sleep, nutrition, or exercise.
Definitely.
Which gives us the resiliency to combat that stress. So that obviously falls under
Yeah, very true. For both sides, parents and kids. Any other questions? Yes?
Well, it's just a comment. I just wanted to share that, something that one of the panel members had said really resonated with me was not to minimize your teen's feelings.
Yeah.
Because I think parents, myself included, try to minimize to try to help their teen get through it. Like, oh, it's not that bad. Why are you upset? It should be okay. Trying to get them through it. But I feel like now that's being seen as minimizing. So I like, this is our world, and these are real feelings. So be there, sit with them, be receptive, as opposed to coming off as minimizing. So that was big.
Yeah, very important. Yes?
I wanted to comment as a grandparent that sometimes when I'm in the car with the kids, they're in 12 and 15. They will just talk about what's going on at school, and find that a lot of the things they hadn't told their parents yet, because they just weren't in a situation that had time to do it. And it's not threatening at all, because grandparents are
we're the key, right?
Thumbs up, and so I enjoy it a lot, and then I know that I've shared some things that my daughter might not have heard.
Yeah, very important. It's interesting, actually. I always made sure that I was home or picking up kids or doing carpool between that 4 and 6 time slot, because you learn so much. That couple of hours, you learn so much just listening in the car.
So going along with all the great comments, so the drawings and whatever you wrote in your notebook are a great thing to take home and show to your teen and have as a physical representation of all the things that you've learned today. And using that, you can initiate a conversation and maybe just say something along the lines of, I'd like to be a better parent, I want to know what you're going through, what you're experiencing, and just get the conversation started and going.
And with that, we put together a poem, literally from the conversations that we had today, and we've got all sorts of different things that we'll work on that and then send it out to Judy so she can pass it on. But this is our initial points. Mental health and well-being is foremost in our mind. Talk about what's causing pain and words so hard to find.
Immersed in many partnerships, so many friends who care. Support is all around us, it lingers in the air.
At first, that we should listen, acknowledge what we feel, that stress is causing problems, that stress is really real.
Comparing and contrasting, from school to sports to screens, neglects us from addressing our well-being and our needs.
Kiss, marry, kill, sensitive, not cool. But if I don't participate, I may seem just a fool.
Sometimes it feels so lonely, the way stress impacts you and me, but there's always a strong likelihood we'll all be stung by bees.
The teacher is important, makes the subject come alive. I really need connection daily to survive.
The letters on our papers dictate how we feel. It's hard to make the time to acknowledge and to heal.
Then we had all sorts of things about McDonald's and all sorts of other things, but we'll put that together and send it out to Judy. So.
That's fantastic. Well, what a great way to end a program. I really appreciated that, and I took notes when you started talking about the business stress, because that's going to be one of our programs. So I was really happy that you brought that up. Not happy that businesses are stressed, but it's a reality. And so thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to Sam Bennett Media for taping our program tonight. Appreciate that. So it will be available, and we'll also have a highlight, a short reel as well. So thanks everyone for coming. Please visit the resource tables on the way out, and please take sandwiches if there are some left. So thank you very much.